So today I'm talking about a Nissan with the P0150 code, what it means and how you go about fixing it. So what is the Nissan P0150 code? Well, it's an O2 sensor circuit malfunction, bank 2 sensor 1. And what does this mean? Well, the onboard computer uses oxygen sensors located on the exhaust that monitors how much oxygen's been burnt off during combustion, and it's seen a problem with one of these sensors, so it's going to have to be troubleshooted to know why. And engines like V6s or V8s, they have two banks, and bank 1 will be the side of the engine with the number 1 cylinder. So if you find the side of the engine with the number 1 cylinder, that's going to be bank 1, and then the opposite is going to be bank 2. And sensor 1 is going to be the first sensor going down on that side. And possible causes of a Nissan P0150 code, well, it could be a failed O2 sensor, it could be in the wiring like an open or short, and possibly a blown fuse. And so the first thing to do when you get this code is to go locate bank 2 sensor 1 oxygen sensor, and there can be some differences. It's really going to vary on the year of the Nissan and the engine type and things like this. And so it's always a good idea to go get a diagram for your particular year of Nissan and engine type and things like this. For example, here's a 2011 Nissan Frontier, and as you can see, bank 2 sensor 1 would be right here, which would be before the catalytic converter. And so it's always a good idea to get one of these diagrams since they make it easier to find where the sensor is located. And the basics of what's going on with these sensors is you're going to have sensor 1, which is going to be located before the catalytic converter. It's going to be called the upstream oxygen sensor. And then you're going to have sensor 2, which is located after the catalytic converter, and it's going to be called the downstream oxygen sensor. And these sensors are doing two things. First, they're monitoring how much oxygen was burnt off during combustion, and they use this information to adjust the air-fuel ratio mixture. And then second, they also have heater elements inside of there that monitor the catalytic converter, since the catalytic converter starts to heat up when it starts to fail. So they're using heater elements to monitor the catalytic converter. And the one the onboard computer is seeing an issue with is going to be the upstream sensor 1 oxygen sensor on bank 2. And so once you locate the oxygen sensor, the next thing to do is to check out the wiring real good. Be sure there's no opens, cuts, or anything like this. And basically just keep in mind that if anything's wrong with the wiring, is going to cause the same issues as a bad sensor. So you want to check that out. Be sure that all looks good. Also keep in mind it's going to be on a fuse. There'll be a fuse box located in the engine compartment, and it can sometimes be a little bit vague on the fuse that it is, but there will be a fuse inside of there for these. For example, here's a 2007 Nissan 350Z, and as you can see, heated oxygen sensor is right here. It'd be fuse number 85. And if something happened to that fuse, then it could cause an issue. So it's something to keep in mind. And so if the wiring all looks good, there's no blowing fuses or anything like that, then very likely that oxygen sensor has just gone bad and just needs to be replaced. You can test these if you want to. There's some good YouTube videos on that. And so if you want to test it, that's always a good idea. One thing about Nissans is quite commonly is that these sensors are really hard to get to. A lot of vehicles make it easy to get to these, but for some reason Nissan sometimes just really has them in bad locations. And sometimes they can be easy, but quite commonly, especially the sensor 1, is just located up on top of the engine behind like a air box and things like this. So they kind of make it difficult to get to. But the next thing to do would be to test that oxygen sensor or to replace it. And one thing to keep in mind is especially the sensor 1 usually requires a special tool to get it back in and get around that wire so you could screw it back in. There's a special tool to do this with. I'll put a link down below if you need to check out and see what it is and what I'm talking about. But basically, it just goes around this wire and allows you to screw it back in. Especially that sensor 1 is usually recessed into the exhaust. So go and look at it because you might not need it, but quite commonly you do on that sensor 1. And so that's basically it. I just want to do a real quick brief video on how you go about fixing a Nissan with the P0150 code. If you have anything to add, please comment down below. If you have any questions, ask me and I'll try to answer them. If this video helps you, please click like, please click subscribe, and have a good day.